This is DJ Rubbish on the ones and twos.
And I just come here to let y'all know it's about to get real filthy in this mother.
Welcome to episode 58 of In Todd We Trust. You can access the podcast at itwpodcast.com for spoiler-free one-sentence reviews and movie ratings, episode descriptions, song of the week playlist, movie soundtrack playlist, and a submission form to be a guest on the show. And you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on Thursdays, as well as watch on YouTube. Today we have Lauren Nicole up here. She's a local Detroit artist. Currently a junior in high school, right?
Yes.
Currently a junior in high school. Reached out via IG. So bring her up here on to review Just Mercy. So couple questions about your path, and then how long have you been doing music? How long have you been singing?
I've been singing, according to my mom, since I was 6 months.
Okay.
But that was obviously me just being a baby.
Okay.
But
yep.
seriously, probably, it's 2020 now, so I'd say like a year and a half.
Okay,
maybe.
got it. So have you always been able to sing and just not ever put into music?
Yes.
So have you done like choirs and stuff growing up?
When I was like 6 or 7, I was put in the choir.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped because I'm also a dancer, so it was
okay.
really hard to do both at the same time.
Got it.
So I did that for a little bit, but then I kind of stayed in dancing. I didn't even think I was going to end up singing.
Really?
Yes.
So what? Which one do you like more, dancing or singing?
Ooh, I can't pick.
Yeah.
They're both very equal.
What type of dance?
Hip hop, ballet, jazz, contemporary, anything.
Got
you
it.
Name it.
My sister was a dancer growing up. She had a ton of competitions I had to got dragged to.
Yes.
Growing up, and the whole day spiel.
Oh my God.
Do you have a favorite style?
Hip hop.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough because it's really cool to see. Like, I mean, looking back on it, like it was really cool to see the different styles of dance and different music. I mean, there's different songs I heard for the first time ever at going to some of those competitions. So it was definitely cool. Who is your biggest inspiration to sing?
Beyonce,
yeah, that's an easy one. Yeah, that's an easy pick.
Yes.
I had a friend actually recently tell me that they felt like Beyonce was becoming less relevant, and and I'm not like the biggest. I like Beyonce, like I obviously respect Beyonce.
Yeah.
My sister loves Beyonce, so I had no choice but to listen to her growing up, and obviously she has a ton of hits.
Yeah.
But I got heated, like in a heated argument with one of my good friends about like how I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? Beyonce's irrelevant. Like she just did this for Lion King last year, made 25 mil off of that.
Yes.
She did the Homecoming on deal with Netflix. She has obviously this upcoming thing with Adidas. So yeah, I think she was a little bit biased. My friend works for Nike, and now she's doing this deal with Adidas. So I think she is a little biased there.
She might be mad about the Adidas.
I think so. I'm like, come on, get out of here. Like we can't, don't disrespect her.
Right.
So
She's the queen.
yeah, absolutely. And you're from Detroit, right?
Yes.
What high school do you go to?
I go to Oxford High School right now.
Oxford. Okay, got. How far is that from around here?
Whew. What would you say? Probably like an hour and a half, maybe.
Oh wow. Okay, so a little ways away.
Yeah.
A little ways away. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm like I said before, I'm new to the Detroit area, so still learning the area. Not from Michigan originally, so from Cincinnati originally is where I grew up.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up in Cincinnati and then came up here for school, and then been bouncing around and been here for a little while now. So when I went to the theater to see this, what theater did you go to? You have a favorite
Imagine
theater?
in Rochester.
Okay, got it. I love Imagine. So I went to an Imagine too. Today I went and saw this. I love the recliner seats are everything.
Yes.
I went this morning actually. So I went this morning to go see it, and like the 10:45 showing, and it was 6 of us total in the theater.
Wow.
And 5 of the 6 were all in the same row. I'm like, why did you all sit next to me? And I picked my seat first. Otherwise, I would have picked somewhere else.
Exactly.
Why would you pick it right next to me? So I was salty about that. And someone smelled like alcohol, which I thought I was like, okay, someone had a long night last night. But yeah, so that was my movie going experience. But again, a great movie, so it's worth it. So song of the week.
Playing Games by Summer Walker.
Okay, I love Summer Walker. I had a Summer Walker song of the week a couple weeks ago.
Hey, Summer Walker.
Great artist. My similar genre, I would say, or similar style. My song of the week is by Doja Cat, and it's Say So. by Doja Cat. That's my jam. The TikTok dance that goes with it and everything.
Yes.
TikTok's definitely your generation. I still try to understand TikTok, but I feel like an old person now. It's crazy, and I work in marketing, and I'm like, I should know more about this, but like it's just showing my age. But no, I love that song. I played it on repeat like since I heard it a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
There's still a ton of music obviously going to come out this year, but like I don't see a lot of them being that I like more than Say So. It's just such a catchy song.
Yeah.
So I'm a sucker for songs that are like catchy beats that you can dance to. I love pop-ish songs, or when you infuse like pop and hip hop, and you see way more of that now with a lot more rap being like more melodic and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that is absolutely. So that's my jam. She has like a couple jams on that album.
Yes.
But yeah, so definitely looking forward to stuff that she has coming up. I know she just released something on SoundCloud actually like a couple days ago.
Really?
Yeah, I guess like fans have been like really bugging her to drop this new single, and she dropped it the other day. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but got to.
Check it out.
Yeah, exactly. Upcoming now is our random rapid fire round. So questions that you have no prep for. That we're going. We got 8 questions. So it's probably my favorite part of the show actually.
Oh gosh.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Have you ever been falsely accused of something?
Yes.
Yes. What was it? Can you share?
Let me see. I think me and my cousin, we were like on a playground, and these dudes were like messing with her.
Yeah.
Like saying something, and then one of the guys were like, "She said this," and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it turned into this big argument. It was a lot, but we got it resolved.
Okay. Good. It's resolved. That's all that matters. Would you rather spend 7 years in prison or spend the rest of your life on the run?
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang. I think maybe on the run. Because at least I'll be able to see things.
Yeah, right.
In prison, you're just stuck looking at 4 walls.
I know. That's tough. Yeah. And 7 is like a number where you're like, it's not super long, but it's like long enough. Right. Yeah, it's long enough. And especially at this point in your life, like these are formative years. So to like spend the next 7, that would be rough. If you were convicted of a crime, what would it be for?
Oh Lord, probably speeding.
Speeding, yeah.
Maybe that.
I don't know if your mom would appreciate that answer.
Yeah.
Would you work as a singer for a prison for $500,000 a year?
Ooh.
Like that's just your career. You go every day. You go to the prison. You just sing.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're still getting the job done. You could be touching them.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
In the prison. So.
Very true. Very true. That's a good point. Which Michael B. Jordan role is your favorite?
Ooh, I like him in not Wakanda. What's it called?
Black Panther. Yeah. I think that's a lot of people's favorite for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, he's in way more stuff as the years go on. Man, I feel like I see him all the time.
Yeah.
Would you rather watch all of Jamie Foxx's works for the rest of your life, or Michael B. Jordan's?
Oh, that's a really hard one.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Jamie Foxx as of now, just because I feel like he's been in a lot of things, and I've seen so much of his work.
Right.
And I don't know, he just hits the spot.
I love Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Go to slushy flavor at the theater.
Blue raspberry.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah.
If you had to rewatch the same movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, you're hitting me with some good questions.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Divergent series.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, those were good. Those were good. I love Shailene Woodson a lot. Have you ever seen Big Little Lies?
No.
With her in it. It's on HBO. It's definitely worth a watch. It's good. It's based on a book.
Okay.
It also has Zoe Kravitz in it, Reese Witherspoon.
What?
Yeah, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people in it. Yeah, Nicole Kidman. It's a lot of people. Yeah, definitely look it up. So getting into the movie, IMDb description for Just Mercy: world-renowned civil rights defense attorney Brian Stevenson works to free a wrongfully condemned death row prisoner. It says world-renowned, but the cool part about this movie is that it's showing what led to him being world-renowned. He wasn't world-renowned going into it. Otherwise, it probably would have been a little bit easier path than what he had.
Yeah.
Release date was January 10th. It just came out this past weekend. A notable cast, obviously Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, Brie Larson, and O'Shea Jackson Jr. Director and writer was Destin Daniel Cretton, who hasn't really done any big blockbusters outside of this film. And runtime for the movie was 2 hours and 16 minutes. Going into this movie, what were you thinking? What were you expecting? Do you have any preconceived notions about it?
Well, I don't know what I was expecting, because I wanted to surprise myself. I didn't even know what the movie was about, because I hadn't even seen any ads or anything. So I was like, Just Mercy. Obviously something about mercy is going to be in it. So I was like, I don't know what I thought, but
Right.
I definitely, that 2 hours and 16 minutes was worth the time.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
was
I
amazing.
agree.
I cried, and so did my mom.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that part.
It was definitely a really emotional film.
Yeah.
And the length definitely was like the entire duration of the movie was leading up to that very emotional ending and verdict, obviously, which you understand going through. It did feel long at parts, like it was parts where you're like, oh man, we still got another like 45 minutes or hour, so but we got to it, and like I said, I thought it was a really good movie. Going into it though, I didn't know anything about the real life story, to be honest. I didn't look into the case prior to the movie, and sometimes I do that when it's based on a real story, just because I want to be surprised with the different twists and turns of the movie. Obviously, if you know the whole story, then you're just watching how they portray it. You're not really surprised or shocked, or I want to go into it not really knowing what to expect. So it made the movie more enjoyable, I think. So that was one thing. The narrative caught my attention because I'm a big Jamie Foxx fan, like I mentioned. I really like Brie Larson. I want to like Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan, I go back and forth on, man. I just don't know. I feel like he's the same guy in every film. And I feel like he's almost like a lesser Will Smith. And what I mean by that is I think Will isn't necessarily like the best actor. I love Will. I love Will Smith. Let me start by saying that, as everyone does. But I don't know if he's like, I don't think he's like the greatest actor. I think he's a good actor. I don't think he's the best actor ever. But he's super lovable. He's a lovable guy off screen. You love him off screen. And then all the characters he plays are really lovable. And I just can't I can't connect with Michael B. Jordan because I can't get a pulse of his personality off screen. Like, I don't know really who he is. Like, Will is funny. Will is a rapper. His family. All this stuff about Will. But you don't know really much about Michael. Like, who does he date? What is he like? What's his family? What was his upbringing? Like, what does he like to do for fun? Like, I don't know.
Right. I can see that for sure.
So I think it's hard for me to connect partially because of that. Another question, not part of the random rapid fire, but a good question nonetheless. Do you think Jamie Foxx, Drake, or Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, wow, are more talented? Who's more talented? Because they're all, the reason I bring them all up is because they're three people who, one, I've heard this debate a little bit before, but also because they're three people who have their like hands in a lot of different things, whether it's singing, rapping, acting.
That is also really hard. I can't pick on that one either because I feel like they're very unique and really good at what they do in their own ways.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Drake, he's more of a rapper. Jamie Foxx, he does a lot, all of it, and so does
Childish Gambino, yeah.
So I think I give them all 10s in their own way, if that makes sense. I don't think I can really like.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I think there's clear-cut winners, I think, for some of them in terms of specific areas.
Right.
So, like, I think, it's easy to say, yes, Drake has been the most successful with music. That's easy. That's the easy one. But he's not the most successful with acting.
Exactly.
That one would probably be between Jamie and, I would say Jamie. Jamie's probably definitely acting and producing and directing.
Yeah.
He's right there. Donald Glover, I think, has been able to, like, kind of maneuver through all of those a bit. And he's a good writer, too. He's more of a writer. So he's written on shows and things that he hasn't even been on. So it's good. It's a good conversation. I think again, not to put one down. They're all very successful and really good. I knew going into the movie that obviously it was going to end with him being freed. So I think that's also what urged me to go see it because I think if I didn't know if it wasn't based on a true story, then I would have been like, this film would have been really rough to watch if at the end he still got the death sentence. So that would have been really rough. And then also before going into the movie, I saw that a ton of people, similar to Black Panther, people paid for free screenings. So Kanye and Kim paid for free screenings. Common, Kobe, John Legend, and then some companies as well. So Microsoft, Facebook, Goldman Sachs, the Los Angeles Lakers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, San Francisco 49ers, LA Rams, and Atlanta Falcons all paid for theaters for people to go see this for free. So it obviously has made a very huge impact already, and it hasn't even been out, a full week yet. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I know there were select theaters that came out in Christmas, so maybe some of those bigger cities that came out, but yeah, I thought that was really cool to see because it is an important story. I think, not only just for civil rights, but just like humanity and doing the right thing, even when it's tough. So a lot of those lessons in it. One of the biggest things in the movie, obviously, that touches on is race relations in our country, and which is crazy because this wasn't that long ago. That's what made me like, what? Yeah, it makes you jump back a bit.
Yeah.
I know, like, for the, you know, the case was happening in 1993, with the final case, I should say. And that's the year I was born. So, you know, to really think, like, wow, like, that was not that long ago.
Right.
You know, so definitely, you know, kind of hits home when you see that. And again, it's down south, but you know, it's not so far where you're like, it's not like this remote, like, you know, it's easier, I think, when you watch these films and it happened in the 1800s or it was 1920 something.
Right.
But when you can grasp the time period, or you're like, oh,
like
yeah,
I was just born a few years after
right,
that.
exactly. it's kind of weird.
It is.
And I typically don't watch movies in that are set like racism in the South, because it just, you just hate the feeling, like it just makes you upset.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie that is set in that time period, or even like a 12 Years a Slave, where it's still race relations, but not in that? It's obviously a bit predated 1800s, but
I'd say it's Just Mercy, if I'm being
just
honest.
really, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I feel like that one. The other ones touched me really like deeply too, but this one, I don't know what it was about it. I think just the whole storyline, the plot of it, and believe it or not, because like I said, I hadn't like did any research on it. I at one point thought he wasn't going to be freed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so like that's why I started crying. But then towards the end, obviously he got freed.
Right.
I feel like just the support and how hard Brian or Michael B. Jordan went for him, it really touched me, because I feel like the whole message was keep going no matter how many no's you get, because somebody's gonna say yes. But if you stop, you're guaranteed a no. Right. For however long you fight. So I just,
that's a good point. Yeah.
And I'm in the time of my life right now where I'm like getting no sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it hit home.
Yeah, especially with the music industry, like you're probably gonna get a ton of no's.
Oh my God.
I mean, you hear that story with, I mean, I think any artist ever,
yes.
you know, you hear their stories about, I like tried to play my demo tape here, and this person shut the door on me, or told me to get out their face, and now, you know what I mean? So it's, you know, you hear all those where people doubted them. So yeah, that is true. And I mean, I think you see that in this movie with him searching for the truth, trying to find witnesses to come up and speak forward. Yes. Obviously, they had a lot of, I mean, they showed literally getting the door slammed in their face until they came to people who were, you know, whether it was the cop who, you know, got kicked off the force and then came, you know, went up on the witness stand, or, you know, searching for evidence. And, you know, they did it all, where he could have easily, again, like they mentioned, you know, you went to Harvard, so you could have stayed up north, you could have done something else, paying way more money, you know, without having to put your life at risk. So yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely shows that it, well, I do think when people go into situations where there's prejudice, I think it's important not to be super shocked about it. I think you have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I think that you see that with Michael B. Jordan, where it was, even though he got down there, I think he didn't realize how bad it was. I think he knew it was bad.
Right.
He was aware. But then when he got down there, and even you see, you know, the look on his face when the cop told him to strip down, you know.
That part made me so mad.
It just fires you up.
Oh my God, that made me so mad.
It fires you up.
Yes.
And I think with that, you know, with that part, you know, you're seeing him realize, oh wow, this is going to be an uphill battle.
Exactly.
Or even when he got like pulled over for no reason, you know, things like that. Yeah. And him continue to go forward. Because I think a lot of times it's easy. It's easy to give up in those. I'm very easy, obviously.
Very easy.
When your life's at risk, or you're humiliated, or your pride is hurt. So
especially when you're doing something for somebody else too.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was, I mean, obviously he was doing it for himself to like prove, like, you know what, like these people deserve a chance.
Yeah.
But when you're risking your life for someone, that's a whole other different, like that's a whole other story.
Yeah, so, very true. Yeah, when you're putting your life on the line for a stranger, complete stranger at this point, you know, it's easy to kind of back off, and no one would have blamed him. You know, if he would have said, "Hey, this is too much." Yeah. But yeah, and I think, you know, I think with any type of minority group or Black community specifically, you know, there's a ton of focus on equal rights and getting, you know, equal footing and equal opportunities. And as important as that is, I think also what I just was thinking about watching this movie, and movies similar to it, is how it's important to also educate youth on not putting themselves in compromising situations, knowing the type of world we live in. So, you know, if you know, hey, it's like, I'll use an example. Growing up, I grew up in Ohio, and the area, I didn't have any really crazy situations where I, you know, was prejudiced, like, you know, where my life was in danger. But I remember when I started driving, I was 16, got my license, my mom would be really nervous if I went out and drove at night. So she'd be really like cautious about, like, hey, you can't drive super late at night. Not that I don't think that you're a good driver or anything. It has nothing to do with that, but more so like I would be fearful if you get pulled over somewhere.
So
and you just
sad.
never know. And the area I lived in was predominantly white.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and it was, you know, that's just what it was at the time. I understood at the time, but I understand it more now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, again, she would have been doing a disservice if she would have just said, oh yeah, go out, like if you get pulled over, you're not doing anything wrong. Like, yeah, you're right, but you gotta know the country we're living in. And that not, you know, again, not every cop is crooked or not every white cop is bad. That's not true.
Right.
Most of them are good.
Yeah.
But there are still the percentage that are prejudiced, and that, you know, whether, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a white cop, it could be any cop that could be, you know, crooked or have ulterior motives. So just having that awareness going into situations is important.
For sure.
And again, I think that as you think more about that, you just really think, wow, this Brian Stevenson, this actual character in real life, he really was willing to risk it all, you know, and his mom felt the same way, you know, just like any mom. His mom, she was so upset, and she knew, you know, even like she said to him, I understand that your heart's in the right place. I understand that you have this purpose, but it's still a hard pill to swallow that.
Exactly.
You know, I know what you're getting into. Maybe even more than he did.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So, you know, so yeah. So I think that just speaks to his integrity and just doing the right thing. I think that was one of the biggest themes, too, of just doing the right thing, even if it may cost you your life.
Yeah.
So, so it's tough. It's tough.
It is. I think my favorite part was when a lot of people come on saying, you're going to be making a lot of people upset. And he was like, well, good thing I don't care about making people upset or how they feel. This is right or wrong. So,
flat out, yeah.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I think you see that a ton of times today, too. Like, I think, I mean, you see those situations in your life all the time where you have to make a right or wrong decision, or some, you know, sometimes everything's not so black and white. There's some gray. But even in that, where you have to make this decision, that's tough. You know, and it's so easy to do the wrong thing.
So easy.
But yeah, even if it's, you know, a small decision, but yeah, it's tough. And I think that you have I had so much respect for this character and Brian. And again, you went from being, and even when he shared a bit of his story to Walter McMillan, you know, he was sharing like, hey, I came from an area similar to you. And that's where, you know, I grew up, and, you know, what drove him was his grandfather, you know, being murdered, and, you know, no one really doing any work to find his killer. So I think that's important too, for him to share that. And I think it's important too that even if he didn't have that story, that even if it was just, I just want to do the right thing, that that's just as valid.
Exactly.
Because, you know, if you are in a position where you can help others, you know, that should be enough.
Exactly. There shouldn't be any extra like, oh, well, no, it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
And I think you see that, unfortunately, so much where people, you know, you see so many people have ulterior motives that you're almost like unwilling to trust them, because you just assume that, you know, they must have an angle here, and not that, you know, this person's just genuinely trying to do the right thing.
Right.
You know, Brian, like I said, my mother would be equally upset. I told her, so I'm in the process of attempting to move to Cali.
Ooh,
so attempting to move there. So it's so I hate the cold. I've always hated the cold.
Yeah.
And I keep moving to cold places. Like prior to living here, I lived in Chicago.
Ooh.
And I don't know. I always complain every winter. I complain about the cold, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna leave, and I just don't.
Yep.
So now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna actually do it.
Yeah.
So in the process there, but it's funny. Like my mom, not as obviously exaggerated as Michael B. Jordan's mom in the film.
Yeah.
But she's like, that's so far. Like you know, and I'm like, Mom, like I gotta do my own thing, Mom. Like I'm a grown man. I can't. Right. Yeah. So it's funny seeing those parallels, and that's what I was kind of thinking in the theater. Being a lawyer, you know, I was looking at, you know, obviously that's not my path, you know, again, that's some people's path, and everyone has their own calling, but I imagine it probably would be really tough to lose a case, especially at these stakes, where if losing a case means someone loses their life.
That's a lot of stuff.
It's so much pressure.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pressure, and I don't know if I would be able to deal with that. I feel like it's probably similar to like a doctor who loses a patient. You know, how do you brush that off and move on to the next thing?
Exactly. That could give you like low key like some type of mental problem.
Yeah, you would think.
Like it's your fault.
Yeah. That, like, how do you move on without that blame? And obviously, it's, you know, no blame is on them.
Right.
But I feel like, you know, not only blame, but then self-doubt would set in. You know, I'd almost feel like, man, am I a good lawyer? Or, man, am I a good doctor? Should I stop? You know, am I putting people at risk? You know, so that'd be hard to shake off.
Yeah, for
sure. I was thinking a little bit about that too in the film.
That was deep. I didn't think about that part.
Yeah, it just when you, and I think it was important that they showed Herbert, how he lost his life. I mean, obviously that was just the most emotional part probably in the film. One of them at least. You know, a lot of roller coasters with emotions in this movie, but with Herbert, I think it was important that they showed that part of the story where he lost that case and Herbert died, because it reminded you, things were going really well. It looked like, he got his office. It looked like he was gaining traction. He was getting evidence. And I think it was important that in the middle of the movie, they reminded us what was at stake. So it was like, it's people's real lives at stake. Like people actually die. People actually will get killed here without So I think that was really important, pivotal part of the movie. I know for me at least, where I was just like, I think everyone, you sit there and it's just kind of like you can't almost like move in the theater. You're just like,
oh my god,
watching.
I swear, me and my mom were just like, what the? Like, we didn't even know how to feel.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But and you learn to, again, the movie's long, but it's long for a reason. So, again, to develop those feelings as the audience towards these characters. So you start to feel a connection to Herbert. You start to feel a connection to Walter. So, the short of the film is you don't necessarily get those connections, or it doesn't really mean as much when Herbert dies, but when they actually walk you through who he was, he fought in the army, his story, then fighting to get him out, us feeling like, wow, they actually have a case. And then it not working and him actually dying, it makes it that much more real. So then, so I think the writing was really good in this movie, I think.
Very good. Phenomenal at that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think, like you said, it being, your favorite movie that kind of deals with social injustice, I think it definitely deserves to be in that conversation for one of the top ones. Especially because it's a real story too.
That makes it hit home even harder.
100%.
That's real.
100%. So it's real and it's not super distant. So I think when it's longer ago, it's easier to go, well, that was a long time ago. 12 Years a Slave. Well, slavery was a long time ago. I think it's easier for people to dismiss it. I think it's harder when it's 1992, 1993, 1994. Like,
and
that's
it's
tough.
Only 2020.
Yeah.
So.
That's hard. Oh, the lights went off. I don't know. I think we just got to move around. Here, I'll go in and stand up. There we go. Yeah, we just had to move. Sorry, guys. Some technical difficulties if you're listening. But yeah, I think it's easier to really feel it when you have that time period that's so close, especially if you live in the South. If you live in the South and Alabama, and I'm 26, like I said, I was born in 1993. So anyone 26 older, even not 26 older, if you just live around Alabama, that's like, whoa, that's close.
Hometown.
Yeah. So that's crazy. Walter, I think it was interesting how they had his character, and I call him a character, but he's actual, figure in real life.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they brought up like his cheating. So it did lend more context to why he was the scapegoat in this situation.
Yeah.
Because there was already some animosity about him having an affair with a white woman.
Right.
So that made a little bit more sense where it was like, at the beginning you're just like, okay, as you're putting the pieces together, okay, he's framed, but like, why him?
Right.
Why out of all black people, why this black guy?
That's definitely the part I was confused on at first.
So that was, it was just like, where is the connection? Like, did they have a vendetta against him? Or did he have he seems like a quiet dude who's just doing his work. So why this guy? So it made more sense and it lended more context to, okay, he had an affair with. I thought it was going to tie back in more to that. Like, I thought we were going to see the woman he cheated with, and there would maybe be a connection like, oh, the woman is married to one of the cops. Or I thought it was going to be some type of connection there. But it wasn't, and I think that the reason they didn't do that is because they showed us like, hey, it doesn't matter who she was. The fact that she was white was enough to set off this kind of chain reaction.
Messed up.
It is.
Like,
it's
what
messed
type
up.
of sense does that make?
It's messed up, and it's encouraging to see how far we've come in 30 years or so, about 30 years. But then also, it is disturbing to see how 30 years ago it was like, and again, that stuff still happens, and no matter how long, time goes on, there's still going to be evil, there's still going to be prejudice at 100%. It's going to be present. That is some crazy karma though. Like that was, I was thinking that, I was like, man, what a way for karma to come back.
Right. That's probably one of the worst karmas I know.
Yeah, man. I was like, sheesh. That was rough. But I definitely thought, I'm glad that this didn't happen, but Darnell, who provided his testimony, I thought he was going to die. I was like, he's a dead man walking. Yes. But I was happy that he didn't die.
Yes.
That would have been too much.
He ended up speaking up too.
Yeah. So I'm glad he came forward. I felt where he was coming from though. So again, where it's like, hey man, like I understand, I love Walter just as much as the next guy, but like I don't want to lose my life to
Trying
save
to
him.
survive.
Yeah, he just wanted to survive. He just wanted to keep his job.
Exactly.
So, and it's just such a dire time at that point in that city. So, and you know, if you're living in that city, you've never been anywhere. He probably didn't know that it's probably better up north, or he probably didn't know it was probably better other places. Again, not to say it was perfect, but when you're in that bubble and you just feel trapped and can't get out, you know, that has to be a rough feeling. It has to feel almost similar to imprisonment, you know. So,
because you're stuck.
Yeah,
you can't go nowhere.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So based on, you know, whether it's poverty or where you're living at, you know, it's just that's rough. That was rough to see. And yeah, that was really rough. I thought that I definitely was worried when they didn't win that initial court case.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like you didn't know how it was gonna end.
Yes, I was like, he's done. He's not. But I'm just so happy it ended up like working out well. But the way they played that scene out made it seem like this is literally the end. Yeah. Cause and then at that point you don't know how much time is left too, because you're just sitting in the movie theater. So it's like, how is this gonna end? Is he gonna live or? But thank God the Supreme Court actually. Yeah, because it could have. Yeah, you're good. Because it could have went different ways. I mean, you do see that in movies where it's like, I mean, it's real life, so it doesn't always end with this happy fairy tale. Exactly. But yeah, when they initially, you know, lost that case and they took him back to the cell and he started to fight back, I was thinking like, man, what are you doing? But then I thought, man, you feel like you don't have anything to fight for anymore, right? So or live for anymore. So it's like, what does it matter now? That's you know what I mean? At this point, like, you know, I don't care what they do to me. So I just couldn't even, you know, you're trying to put yourself in that mindset of just hopelessness, and I think that's the roughest part. There is just the feeling of, you know, if you're in prison or any situation that's not a good situation, if you can see light at the end of the tunnel, it's a lot easier to make it through, because you're like, okay, if it's, you know, whether it's 7 years in prison or 5 days, you're like 5 days, you're like, okay, prison seems a lot less bad if you're there for 5 days. If you're there indefinitely and it's just like you're gonna die, we haven't told you what day you're gonna die, but you are gonna get the death penalty. I mean, how do you even mentally cope with that? Like, how do you really bring yourself to be at peace? How do you bring yourself at peace with that? You can't. And then you have to wait too. Like, they don't even tell you when you're going to do it. So it's just like a waiting game. Like, okay, it's tomorrow. It could be tomorrow. It could be yesterday. Yeah. For all you know. Right. So I think just the build up of like, okay, when is it going to happen is what probably gives them a lot of anxiety too. Yeah, absolutely. And then like, especially with Herbert. Because he was, you know, they're fighting for him up until the last day. Yeah. So he has hope, and then boom, you find out the next day it didn't go through, and now you're being killed. So, yeah, I think that was rough. I think it was really, I don't know if I want to say enlightening or just, it just was really deep when he, and when I say he, I mean Walter, said, you know, you gave me my truth back. So when he lost the case, but he was like, you know, and he's apologized. He said, nothing to apologize for. You gave me my truth back. Regardless of what happens now, everyone knows the truth. Everyone knows I didn't kill that girl. So, you know, again, the courts are not gonna, you know, at that point didn't think he was gonna make it out. But just being able to die at peace, knowing that his family, the public, all know the truth. Yeah. I felt that. I definitely felt that. Because I do think it's more important a lot of times I know for me personally, you know, whether you're liked or loved by people, just for them to know you. Exactly. So getting your truth out. So, okay, this is who Todd Barnett is. Like, you know, whether you like it or love it, you know who I am. So I think when there's a lie or, you know, there's a, you know, misconception about who you are, that's rough to live with. Exactly. Or to definitely to die with. So yeah. Because you're going out with people thinking something of you that isn't true. Yeah. And it's not like you can be here to defend yourself. Exactly. Yeah. So that makes it a lot harder for sure. Yeah. It was rough. Herbert, like I said, I think it was, unfortunately, he had to be the one to die. And I think, again, in the story, they could have done a story that just focused solely on Walter and not on Herbert. I think it was important, again, like I said, to really show us the stakes of, like, this is real. Like, this happens. You know, it's tough because he didn't get the proper help he needed for his PTSD. Yeah. You know, granted, obviously, he should have been confined in a confined space. He should have been getting mental health treatment, and I think it's you know, obviously at this point in time, the conversation around mental health has grown a lot bigger, and the talk around it has gotten a lot more over the last 30 years, even the last 5 years, really. For sure. But that's good to see the progress there. But again, back then, not only was it not as big, but then also him living in the South,
racism playing a factor, it's kind of was thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Obviously, still should have been in jail. You know, you blew a girl up, so yeah. But at the same time, you know, they had to understand that, you know, if you look at the whole picture, look at all the things around it, who he was, that he really had no malice in doing that.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was portrayed, and I truly believe that based on the facts that we got.
Yeah, for sure.
That he had no malice behind that action. But that's rough. You know, that's rough, and that's rough for the girl's family, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To you know, accept that too and forgive him and move forward and say, you know, hey, he didn't mean he's sick.
Right.
But yeah, I think that you know, it's easier said, I guess, on my side, but you know, it is rough to see.
It is, for sure.
But yeah, when he said, you know, Herbert also had a quote that I thought was interesting when he said, you know, well, I don't want to end up with you, to be honest. And or no, I'm sorry. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. I was thinking that in the theater. No, I'm reading. I'm like, he didn't say that, but I was like, that's what I said when he was saying that when he was going off to be executed, and they were like, "We're with you, Herb." And I was in my head, I was like, you know, I actually like, what if they would have taken him out and be like, "You want to go with him?" Like, I would have been like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know. I'm with you in spirit. I don't know if I want to be down there with you." But
for sure.
But yeah, I don't know. It was that was interesting because what do you say? What do you say? You know, you have to provide some. That's your friend. You want to add some support, but like, what do you say? I mean, we've all been in situations like that where our friends say, you know, I don't know, whether it's like your friend's going to a class they don't want to go to, and you're like, hey, good luck or whatever. Yeah, you don't really know what to say.
Right.
Or someone loses someone's playing a sport and they lose. How do you encourage them? You know what I mean?
True.
Yo, you'll get them next time, or you know, you don't really know what to say.
Because at the end of the day, they're gonna feel how they feel.
Yeah,
no matter
exactly.
What you say, so it's like you might be able to get them a little bit, but especially when it comes to death, I don't know what you can say at that point.
I mean, you're walking, you're saying bye for the final time, going to the electric chair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to say we're with you, like, and they clink the tins, and that's about all they can do.
That part made me cry too.
It's rough. It's rough, man, because it's just like, this is really happening. Like, this is actual people. This is actually how the death sentence works. Like, this is like actual history. So, yeah, that's rough. Probably the most hated character. I mean, he did the right thing at the end, but Ralph Myers. Oh my gosh.
He made me so mad. He made me mad because I feel like instead of looking at the brighter picture, all he cared about was his image and how he looked to the people in his area. Yeah. He wasn't looking at what was right or wrong. It was just like, well, I want to look good to my boss. I want to look good to my people. Blah 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 blah. But it's like, who cares about your image? And again, you have to do the right and wrong thing. And I think for him, it was even more of like, hey man, like, this isn't even that hard of a. I mean, I get it. It's kind of tough, but like, yo man, there's people's lives at stake. Like, you're talking about just a few people being pissed at you. But like, I mean, you're not even, and it's not even like you're letting free someone who actually did it. Exactly. Let's say he actually did murder the girl, and all you did was, instead of making it the death penalty, you made it a life sentence. That's one thing. Right. But to take someone who did not do it, and then you're like, well, he's got to die for my image. That, that's rough. So, he really upset me. The guy who testified or wrongly testified against him and then turned it back around. I'm so happy he came through at the end, because I thought he was gonna really go up there and be, fearful and back out again. I'm like, bro, you're in jail anyway. Like, you're in prison for the next however many years anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I thought it was smart for Brian to go to the side where that one police officer was.
To block him off,
because that's all he was thinking about. Like, I don't want to get punished because of him. Yeah. But as soon as he stepped to the side, he was like, no, it didn't happen at all. No, it didn't happen at all. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so that was a powerful moment. And then, it's funny. So Eva in the movie, Brie Larson in the film, who was Michael B. Jordan's assistant. I don't. So I always think it's odd when they get like big name actors. Because I think she might have been, if she wasn't, she was either the top billed or one of the top billed actors or actresses in the movie. Why would you get such a big star to play a supporting role that really didn't need to be played by a star? I think it didn't, like, she didn't add anything to the film. I kind of forgot she was in it at times. Yeah. It could have been, they could have found a no-name actress and not spent as much on the movie. Yeah, that's true. So, and I don't think anyone who went to see the film was drawn in by the fact that she was in it. Right. I love her. I think she's a great actress. She's one of my favorite But I didn't go see it because she was in it.
Right.
I wouldn't have mattered if who was in that role.
Yeah.
That was
sure.
the focus.
Exactly.
So I always think that's just something random that I think is that I always find odd.
Yeah.
Something obviously that this film touched on a ton was just the legal system. The legal system and death row in general in that conversation. And like we mentioned before, just again not knowing when you're gonna die, just going day to day. If you'd be executed, it's just you can't wrap your head around it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and it's just rough. And how do you look at someone and tell them they should die? So I think that would be rough for me to look at someone and say, hey, you're getting the death penalty. Like how could I make that decision?
Exactly.
And obviously I understand that people are in there for a plethora of reasons. Some people are serial killers and whatever it is, but to just really look at someone and say, there's nothing that could redeem you. You're not even gonna have the opportunity to seek mercy or
right. You're gonna die.
You're gonna die, and that's just for one human to do to another. And again, not to be political, because again, you can have different thoughts on the subject. And I've never had a situation where a loved one was brutally murdered, and you're faced with that decision. But yeah, I just find that this would be really hard to say somebody, to want someone to die. So that's just thinking about that throughout the movie. Coping with prison in general, even if you're not dying, just like wrapping your head around prison and being within those four walls. Like how do you wrap your head around I'm here for the rest of my life,
right, for something you did not do?
Hey, that's even
worse, man.
I couldn't imagine. And like I said, again, going back to being a lawyer, no part of that seems appealing to me. Again, whatever whatever your calling is and that's what you're meant to do, then by all means. But just seeing that day to day, like so much despair. Yeah. Especially in that field, that specific type of lawyer. And just even back to the scene with Herbert. So when he's getting executed and they're setting up to watch him. And I think they did that almost. That was another part that just kind of realized how sick that culture was. They were setting up chairs like it was a movie. Yeah. Like they're setting up chairs like, all right, we're all gonna go watch this execution. How do you do that? Like how do you? Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to watch someone die.
No, that'd be like a scar in your mind forever. Yeah. You can't forget.
You can't unsee that. You're never gonna forget that image.
No. Is it still like that? Do you know if people still watch it today?
I don't know. That's a good question, and I don't know what. Actually, you know what? I'm about to Google it right now.
Because I don't know how you can go through that and be the same.
Let's see, death sentence legal. Let's see, capital punishment is a legal penalty in the United States, currently used by 29 states, the federal government and the military. So yeah, there's still a ton of states that have the death penalty. Yeah, that's wild. Wow, let's see. I'm actually about to look up which ones have it. Right. While we're sitting here. I'm just curious.
Might as well.
States that have abolished the death penalty. So there's some states that have abolished it. Michigan abolished it. So that's good to know. Yeah. Ohio has not. Ohio still has it. Cali still has it. Oh man, I might just stay here, man, just in case I, commit a crime or something. Lord. I don't plan on committing any crimes soon, but any heinous crimes. But yeah, no, that is crazy though. Yeah. 29 states, so more than half of our country. Very crazy. I was while watching, I was also thinking too, like, how do you pick a song or like a final meal for like your when you die? Like, I wonder what the oddest like song that someone's picked is, or because like crazy. It's like at that point you're like, I don't care what they play, right? Like
there's no point at this point,
man. Exactly, at all. Something that Ralph said when they were that was another quote that like really stuck out. It's probably the most vivid quote in the movie. When he said, every breath, like when he was talking about when they put him in there to scare him, they put him in death row to get him to
not tell the truth, to
testify, to wrongfully testify against Walter. He said every breath you take just gives you another taste of the man they just killed, because you can smell the burning flesh. And I was like, that's just such a vivid and disgusting image. But again, I think it's just the movie did a really good job in terms of writing, of just really putting you into the movie. The situation, like you really felt like, like, man, really had you thinking like, man, they're really stuck in jail, or like, man, they're really about to like head to their death, or like, man, they're really like that. I felt it. Like, I think the movie did a really good job. I don't know if it was just the imagery, the acting, but they did a really great job. I felt like
the Ralph even looks like the real guy.
Yes.
I was like, what?
Yeah, they all look like the real. Yeah,
yes,
they all look like the real people. They did a good job with casting. Really great job with casting.
You can tell they took their time.
They did
plotting everything and putting everything together.
Yeah, they did it nice. And again, even at the end, the characters they chose to focus on, again, seeing at the end how it actually happened in real life and how they stuck to the facts. Seeing that the one guy spent 30 years before being freed for a crime he didn't commit. I mean, that's just there's nothing you can do to there's nothing you can do to and especially for even that case. Honestly, they could do a whole movie on that case alone, because that case is even wackier. The guy just said, I could tell looking at him that he was a murderer. Just awful looking at him.
That don't even make no sense.
And then that held up in a court of law. Like, that is insane. In the 80s. Like, again, this wasn't in the 20s. This wasn't in the 30s. This wasn't in the 40s. This was, I'm talking 80s.
Very recent.
Yeah.
About it. That's taking away someone's years. You can't get those years back. Man.
That's someone's whole. I'm not even 30 yet. So you're taking, you know what I mean? You're taking away someone's whole life, man.
And he was probably already in his 20s, and that's an extra 30 years. You can't get that back.
You can't take none of that, man. You can't. Kids, family, vacations. I mean, your entire prime. I mean, come on, man.
Exactly.
You get out.
There's only so much you can do when you get to a certain age.
Yeah, man.
Like,
you just
come on now.
Yeah, getting a job. I mean, just so many things. Just anything. So I mean, you just can't even. I don't think there's anything you can even compare that to.
Yeah.
You know. So it's rough. Favorite parts. On a lighter note, one of my favorite parts is at the beginning of the movie. They did play an Alabama Shake song. I do like Alabama Shakes. I don't know. Do you like Alabama Shakes?
I don't know. Listen to it.
If it's on, there's worth checking out. Brittany Howard, who is the lead singer. It's an odd group. So it's a group of white men, and then their lead singer is a black girl, Brittany Howard. Alabama Shakes. They're it's a cool group though. She actually just released a solo album this year, which is good. So yeah, definitely she has a great voice. So we're checking out. But they're one of their songs played at the beginning, so I like that. I've said in the podcast before that one of my dreams is at one point is to create soundtracks for movies. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yes, that's so
I'm sure
cool,
you as a musician would definitely love that. Yeah,
definitely a goal right there.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Maybe honestly, to start, it'd probably be cool just to find if I found some friends that were like starting, doing a movie, and it's like, hey, let me just do the soundtrack for it.
Yeah,
just to start out.
I might be able to get you some connects with that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, appreciate it. And when another part was when he was making copies of the tape. Or that was saying, when he was going back there, and the lady was like, they don't pay me enough to stop you, when he was like, looking for help.
Yep.
And it's so funny because I thought back to college, I was working at Tropical Smoothie in college at one point.
We just had that.
Oh, really? I love Tropical Smoothie.
Yes.
Sometimes you work somewhere, and I've heard friends say like, oh, I worked at whatever food place, and now I hate their food. Working at Tropical Smoothie made me like Tropical Smoothie more. So it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's really good though. But anyway, working there, thinking of like people who would get like, a soft drink, get a water, and then fill their water cup up with like soda. And it's like, hey, they don't pay me enough to stop you, so I don't really care. So that's what I thought of. Like, that's immediately I thought was just hilarious. Seeing that. So that was another part that just made me laugh. But all in all, though, the movie, the ending, I thought, seeing the one white cop who made him strip at the beginning, seeing his heart kind of change as the movie went out, and he was obviously, I think he was almost Michael B. Jordan on the cop force, meaning he was new, he had just started, and he was still malleable, so it was cool to see him start off kind of, again, just giving into the culture, and then seeing his heart kind of changing, like, man, now that I'm seeing this stuff, I think seeing the execution, you see his face during the end, it was kind of tough for him to go through that, and you start to see him soften up.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. The final scene in the courtroom is emotional, and him getting off, and I think the audience definitely felt that they did a great job of just, like, the release, like, you felt the, like, pressure come off, even as the audience. So again, speaking to the writing was just great. I just couldn't imagine the relief you feel. I mean, no matter how much you put it into a movie, there's no way you can even put yourself in that shoe, in those person's shoes.
That's just a hard position to imagine yourself in.
Yeah. So that was great. Again, the stats that were provided at the very end. The one guy getting out after 30 years of being, in prison for a crime he didn't commit, and then the stats saying that 10%, or it was technically one, for every 9 people. On death row, one of them is killed who's innocent. So 10% of the people killed on death row are innocent. Like, that's just
that is
sickening.
Oh
you know,
God.
that's just like, wow, that's 1 in 10 people. That's just that really got me as I was walking out the theater.
In half of those cases, you know how they were saying there's no way that the lawyers and all the people and the judges actually read the actual case, because if you read the case, it doesn't make any sense. So I feel like that's probably how it still is.
They're not
even reading
it could be there definitely could be They're, like, you're not doing your due diligence, because if they're going back and looking and finding that if they're innocent, then the person who was handling in the first place probably wasn't really doing the proper research, and so it was like I said, all in all, a really good movie. These types of movies, like I said, are tough to watch, but they're important. It's important to watch, and I'm glad it ended on a high note. Very powerful movie, well written. It felt long at parts, but again, like I said, at the end you kind of appreciate how long it was, because it did take time to develop some of these characters and really feel how they felt. But yeah, like I said, it was really cool, and I think it's, again, I was bringing this up in what movie was I reviewing? Have you seen 21 Bridges?
No.
Has Chadwick Boseman, so Black Panther, in it. Me and my aunt actually reviewed it a couple weeks ago on here, so that was fun. But I brought up the point that how power can corrupt people, and how I think that anyone who gets a good amount of power, I think it, at some point they abuse it. And not to put that on just everyone, but even if it's something small. So like the example I gave is like, let's say you were the department head of like a police department, and your son has a parking ticket. You're probably gonna get it waived, right? And even though that doesn't hurt anybody, it's not evil or anything. No one would say like you're the worst person ever, but it's still an abuse of power.
Exactly.
So
that's true.
And I think it is disgusting, not that example specifically, but in some of the examples we see in the movie, how disgusting it is how power can corrupt average people. And their it kind of enables their darker inhibitions or prejudice. It allows them to to act on those in a bigger scale.
That's true.
So it's just that point, and whether it's prejudice or whatever. Again, like I said, parking ticket, whatever it is, that because every person, nobody's perfect, and everyone has their vice or things that they're working on. And again, I think it's easier to exploit those things when you have power and you can do it without any consequence.
That's true. Nobody is gonna say anything to you or. But it's definitely important not to do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do it. Lauren says don't do it, so do not. What would you rank this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Ooh, I give it the 10.
10? Yeah.
Just the emotional, the production of it, the actors, everything was like perfect.
Yeah. I gave it a 8.4. But yeah, still I thought it was really, really good. I don't have a lot of complaints. It was great movie, and definitely would suggest. I actually am gonna text my parents after this and tell them, because they'll ask me like, what should we go see, like when they go on date night and stuff, and I'm like, I'll shoot them a text and say, hey, next Friday you guys gotta go check out Just Mercy.
They're bawling their eyes out.
For sure. My mom would definitely be crying. Absolutely. So I would definitely say it's worth going to see opening night. Definitely worth going to see opening night. If you it's not something that if you don't go see it opening night, someone will ruin it for you.
Right.
So if you go $5, usually that's fine, but it's definitely, you won't feel like you wasted your money by any means. Upcoming movies. Any upcoming movies you're looking forward to?
So I was actually searching some up today. Mulan.
Oh yeah.
They're making a real life
version. Live action, yeah.
I was like, I didn't know this was coming out. So I'm really excited to see that, because I was obsessed with Mulan. I still am to this day.
It was a great movie. So I'm a huge Disney fan. And I actually, when I saw the first trailer for Mulan, I didn't like it. The first one they released like several months ago. And then I saw the newer one that they released what was it around? They were releasing around an event. I don't know what it was, but it was like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And I was like, oh shoot, this looks fire. So I don't know what was up with the first trailer, but this next trailer I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to see that. So I'm excited about it. Again, I loved the original Mulan. And I'm excited. I think this one, they are trying to make more accurate to the actual culture, to Chinese culture. They said there was a lot of inaccuracies in the first one. So I'm interested to see how they're gonna change up some of the things in this one. So I'm excited to go see that too. Upcoming movie for me is Tenet, with John David Washington. That preview was in this movie. So I mentioned it in a prior episode that I was excited for it, but in the prior preview I saw, it was very short, you had no idea what it was about. But I was just kind of intrigued. They got me. And this one, obviously, they expounded upon it a bit more. The IMDb description is still pretty vague. It's an action epic revolving around an international espionage, time travel, and evolution. So still very vague, but it looks interesting. John David Washington's a great actor. So definitely we're seeing they have a $200 million budget on the movie. So I'm like, I don't know what they did in this movie, but I'm just curious for that now too.
It's gonna be spectacular.
It's got to be, right? Yeah, they got to be expecting a big return. So
yes.
But yeah, that is all I had, Lauren. Did you want to add anything else?
No.
No?
I'm good.
Go check out Lauren's song. Your song, yes.
I got so caught up
you're
in
about to
this
forget,
movie. You can go check out my song on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. It's called "Remembered" by Very Special Ed featuring Lauren Nicole, LaurynNnicole. So that's "Remember" on all streaming platforms.
There you go. No, you're good. If I don't write down, that's why I have notes on my computer. If I don't write stuff down, I mess stuff up all the time. Even still, I mess stuff up even when I write down. But yes, thank you. Appreciate you coming up here and driving down here. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a hassle trying to find the recording studio. Thank you all for listening. Until next week, peace.